Clarence, man, I remember years ago when we were youth leaders. You were Bristol, I was Cardiff, wasn't it? Yeah. And you know, when I first came to this church, I had to apologize to Clarence, you know. Clarence, remind me why I had to apologize to you. About 35, 40 years previously. You don't remember? See, when you see what happened, right? When you're forgiven, the sins are cast into the Lord Pastor saying, you did know, right? So basically what happened, I was supposed to take a program, an AY program to Bristol Church. I see it coming back now, right? Right. And at the last moment I let them down. And I didn't take the program, and they must have been just in the lurch, you know, left in the lurch. And Clarence carried that burden for 40 years. And he reminded me about it. He reminded me about it when I came to this church, and I said, I'm so sorry. And when I said I'm sorry, after 40 years, the burden rolled off Clarence's heart. I'm telling you, I don't know if I saw it. Clarence was so happy. After 40 years, it was gone. You know, and that's what the scripture reading is about today. You guys, you read that scripture reading so beautifully, right? And I know you haven't practiced, I just sprung on you, but that's what the scripture readings are all about. It starts off by saying, blessed is the one. Some of your versions may say the man, but it means basically the one or those. Blessed are those whose, what does it say? Transgressions are forgiven. Yeah, it's just amazing. Blessed are those whose transgressions are forgiven. Can anyone tell me what a transgression is? Well, no, don't give me examples, just what does that mean, transgression? Because we don't really use that word today in our everyday life. What's a transgression? Yeah, a transgression is when you purposely do something wrong. Do you know what I mean? You know, your parents would say things like, you did it on purpose. I don't know why I'm looking at you, my sister. You know, sometimes sometimes we do things on purpose. We know it's wrong, but we'll just do it. Right? Those are transgressions. And then later in the chapter, we've got other things to describe wrongdoing, like iniquity and sin. There's another kind of thing which is like rebellion, where you just don't care what anyone says, you're just going to do it. There are three types of wrongdoing described in Psalm 32. Transgression, iniquity, and sin. Three types. My brother, it's really good to see you. This brother back there has one of the strongest handshakes I've ever met in the Adventist church. Right? This chap right there. That's right. There's a warm, welcoming handshake. Yes. Psalm 32, if you've got your Bibles, just turn to it. If you've got an electronic Bible, you're probably not going to see this. But Psalm 32, at the top of the Psalm, in some of the older Bibles, like the King James Bible, it will say something like this, a maskil of David. Do you see that in your Bible? A maskil of David. It's a very strange word. It just means a poem for contemplation. A poem for thinking about. Now, my mother wrote a poem once, which was published in the World Book of Poets many years ago. And the poem was about the Vietnam War. I was a little child in junior school at the time. But I remembered something in the poem my mum wrote, and it went like this. It's about the Vietnam War. And my mum wrote something like this. She said, helicopters flew by, pregnant with men, sons that proud mothers had borne. And I asked myself, oh God, is this thing necessary? And that stuck in my mind all these years. A poem for contemplation. Can you see a helicopter? Bulging in the belly like a pregnant woman, full of soldiers ready to give birth to a war. Never left my mind. So this Psalm 32, is a maskil. It's a poem for contemplation. The author wants us to consider exactly what is being said in this text. But also in the book of Psalm 32, can you see something in there at the end of some of the verses? You see these words, S-E-L-A-H. Yeah, how do you pronounce it? Scylla. Okay, so you know it's Hebrew. And the first letter in Hebrew is something called a shua. And if I could visualize it, write it, I could show it to you. So I'm just going to describe it. The letter is like this, the first letter of this word. Like a letter U, and in the center of the U at the bottom, another line coming up diagonally. Do you get that picture? Like a U and a line coming up diagonally. So I put it here, a U with a diagonal line. You've got 3 peaks. One end of the U, the other end, and one in the middle. So for you to pronounce that sh, 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 you have to put a little dot on top of the right hand bit of the U. You get the picture? The dot. If the dot's on the right hand, it's pronounced sh. But if you move the dot to the left, it's pronounced s. Just something like that. Sh and s. That makes sense when you think of King Saul. Remember in the Old Testament, King Saul, the first king, who ended up going to a witch for advice and trying to kill the anointed of God, King David. When he was a good king, his name began with the sh, had the dot on the right hand side. But when he became bad, the scribes changed the dot from the right hand to the left, and he became Saul. So he was Shaul before, then he became Saul. In the Hebrew mind, if you are on the right hand side, you're on the side of correctness. You're on the side of salvation. You jump to the other side, it's bad news. All right. So Sheila, that's what we have in Psalm 32. The word Sheila is evident 71 times in the book of Psalms. 150 Psalms, 71 times. So there must be a meaning, a reason behind this Sheila. It also is somewhere else in the Bible, 3 times, the book of Habakkuk. Old Testament book, chapter 3, you'll find it there 3 times. So what does Sheila mean? Sheila. I know you've probably looked at it. Clarence, do you know? No? Herbert? Okay. Herbert, I must tell you. All right. But let me just share with you. A mixture of 3 things. Pause. Lift up. And consider. Praise. Pause. Lift up. And praise. That's what they think it means. Because many of the sounds were set to music, they think it was like a notation for the instrumentalist to just pause on the music. If people were singing, as they were singing the psalm, then they'd stop singing and the instruments would continue playing, so you could think, that's interesting, let me think about that. Or, for praise, you get to that part that says Sheila, and then you would just stop and just praise God. Because something that was said is so meaningful. So what we're going to do, we're just going to look at Psalm 32, look where we see the word Sheila, we're going to pause, meditate, and see what it's actually saying to us. So the first time we see the word Sheila in Psalm 32 is in verse 4. Would someone just read verse 4, please?
So the day and night thy hand was heavy upon me. My moisture is turned into the drought of summer.
Right, so the author is saying, think about this. Think about this. Day and night, your hand was heavy upon me. My moisture is turned into the drought of summer. I have no idea what that means. So I'm going to go to another Bible. And this is what you do. When you're reading this at home, if there's something you don't understand in one Bible, go to another one. You know, many of us have Google. So just tap in there and see what the scripture is saying. So I'm looking, this is a paraphrase. It's called the Clear Word Bible. And this is what it says. Psalm 32 and verse 4. Day and night I was under conviction, and my strength slipped away as if it were a hot summer day. Do you remember those hot days we had? Do you remember? Each day was hot, the nights were hot, you kick off the cover and you're still hot, you turn on the fan, remember? And it was a blowing warm air. You wanted ice, you just wanted to be cool, but it was just hot and you were exhausted. Do you remember? So this is what David, the author, is saying. He was saying, you know what? I was under conviction. I knew I had done wrong, but I didn't want to admit it. And I carried on with my life, but it was nagging at my brain. And my energy, my spiritual energy was gone. That's what he's actually saying. Okay, let's look at another Sheila. Would someone read verse 5? Psalm 32 verse 5. Would someone read that, please?
I acknowledged my sin unto thee, and mine iniquity have I not hid. I said, I will confess my transgressions unto the Lord, and thou forgavest the iniquity of my sin.
Sheila. So we got to stop and think. Wow, hold on a second. I acknowledge my sin to the Lord. Has anyone ever done wrong to you? Have they ever apologized? Okay. No. Okay. Has anyone ever experienced someone apologize, apart from Clarence? Anyone experienced someone saying sorry to them? You experienced it? Is that the husband? He's your husband, okay. Isn't it wonderful? I know this is no relation to your husband, anyway. Isn't it wonderful when someone says sorry? You know, and you know they really mean it. And it can be so exhausting seeing that person and knowing that they've hurt you, and they just either ignore it or just don't acknowledge it. Yeah. But you know, when they finally acknowledge it, I don't really know. For some people, it's a relief, isn't it? Anyway, I think I better leave that one there alone because that's a whole big discussion. But we have a Sheila right here in this wonderful verse. David is saying, I acknowledge my sin to you. So we ask ourselves, what experience was David going through that caused him to write this psalm? I know some of you probably know the answer. You know that big sin David did? Yes. What was the big one? Huh? But we would say, you know, we tend to categorize sins, don't we? So if someone commits murder, we'll say that's a really bad sin. Our society does the same thing because, you know, you'll get a lot of years in prison for murder. Usually life. But then there are other sins or other wrongdoings that society may not consider so heinous. You know, so if you run a red light, you know, you get maybe 3 points on your license, or maybe a fine, but you won't necessarily go to prison unless you damage someone else. But in God's eyes, do you think he categorizes sins? Okay, some yes and some no. Okay, so are there some sins which are not sins unto death, that will not lead to death? Are there some sins you can do which are not going to kill people? Yeah, that's right. If you lie to the first elder, you won't die, will you? But if you let's say, if you threw a stone at the first elder, you'd probably damage him, wouldn't you? If it hit him. Yes. So you know, all sin is wrong, isn't it? But there are some sins which seem to be more serious than others. Remember David committed that first sin? That sin with Bathsheba? Do you remember that one? Remember she was having a bath or a shower? And he looked out the window and he saw her right there. And he did what? Well, I'm sure if it was my brother, if it was you, I'm pretty sure what you would do. You'd close your eyes and you'd fall to your knees in prayer. Fall to your knees in prayer and say, nearer my God to thee. I mean, that's what we should do, isn't it? Men. That's what we should do. You know, we should avert our eyes, because you know, when we look at certain things, it can have an effect on us. You know, what's that word? It can sort of it can make the sin appear less sinful. But you know, David didn't actually do that. I don't know what was happening in his life at the time. He was feeling kind of relaxed, off guard. You know, I don't want to make excuses for him. Some people may say he was just following the natural inclination of his physiology. Following the natural inclination. And really we have to say welcome to the human world, because David was tempted the same way we can be tempted. I'm talking to the men primarily right now. And to the woman really, because you know, you could be tempted, just flip the coin, can't you? You know, you see all those guys on Facebook? I'm not talking to you, my sister, right? I'm just talking generally, okay? You know, you see those guys on Facebook, you know, maybe not Facebook, you know, certain profiles, you see those guys? Okay. And you know, you can get tempted sometimes, but the human physiology, you know, our inclinations, we can get tempted. But you know, David, remember when he went to fight Goliath? He wasn't tempted for wrong right there, was he? No. Because he had something inside of him. Remember what he said to King Saul? Shaul in the Hebrew. He said, Saul, I fought a lion. You know, this big temptation came to destroy my flock. I fought a lion. And I fought a bear. And the same God who made me win these two beasts will deliver me from this new temptation, big Goliath. But when it came to looking at that woman who wasn't nothing like a bear or a lion, he just went to water, didn't he? He turned to putty. Big sin. Do you remember what happened after he committed the sin with Bathsheba? What did he do after that? The Bible doesn't always give you a full picture. The Bible will give you bullet points sometimes. Bullet points, right? So here's a bullet point. I've got to try and frame Bathsheba's husband. Because now I know she's pregnant, I've got to try and frame him. So let's bring him back from the war, get him to sleep with his wife. But the Bible doesn't tell you what was going on in David's head. He's thinking, wow. What he's doing, he's working on deceit, isn't he? He's doing something deceitful. He's planning it. He's testing it in his mind. If I do that, then this will happen, right? And Uriah didn't even succumb, didn't he? He didn't go home to his wife. He stayed there in the palace. Do you remember that story, my sister? Do you remember that story? David and Bathsheba. That's when Bathsheba David slept with Bathsheba. And this beautiful woman, and she got pregnant and she was married to someone else. So now David's in trouble because he has to try and pretend, you know, it's not his child. And he plans and he plans and he plans until he finally says, you know what, let's just kill him. Let's just kill him. Can you imagine? You know, when David fought Goliath, right, there's no way David would have thought, you know what, I'm going to end up killing an innocent man. He wouldn't have thought that. And sometimes in our Christian life, you know, there's certain things that we fall into that earlier on in our Christian life we would say, do you know what, I would never do that. Has that ever happened to you? I'd never do that. I'd never think those ways. But you know, we find ourselves down in that little area. You know. Well, here's the great news. Here's the great news. Psalm 32 verse 1, what does it say? Blessed is the person whose transgressions are forgiven. Blessed is the person whose transgressions are forgiven. And that word forgiven simply means lifted off. That's what it means. Lifted off. Lifted off. I weigh 17 stone, 3 pounds. And if I were to jump on your back, and have you walk around for the rest of the Sabbath with me on your back, you would be quite annoyed. But some of us are walking around for years with big old heavy weight on our backs. And we've just got used to it. And we're allowing it to continue. When the Lord simply says, all you have to do is acknowledge your sin to me, and I will lift it off. I will lift it off. There is another Sheila in this text. Psalm 32 and verse 7. Do you remember this song? Thou art my hiding place. Thou art my hiding place. Thou shalt preserve me from trouble. Thou shalt compass me about with songs of deliverance. And while I am afraid, I will trust in thee. Do you remember that song? Some of you may remember that song. David has gone from an individual who was running away from God. He didn't want to come to God because he knew he would have to face up to some of his wrongdoing. He was making excuses. And now, David is saying, you are my hiding place. This is where I want to live. I want to stay with you. You will preserve me from all evil. In the morning, I'll hear a song in my mind reminding me of your love for me. It's wonderful. Psalm 32. That's all I want to say about Psalm 32. But what I want to say to us before I go is, you need to write your own psalm. This is David's psalm. This is David's poem of contemplation. But God wants each of us to write our own. To be able to say, Lord, thank you for forgiving my rebellion, my obstinacy. And finally to say, God, you are my resting place. I want to hide myself in you. Now there are 150 psalms, but they can also be 151, 152, 153, and that's what we need to do. We need to talk to God, acknowledge our wrong before him, and allow his Spirit to enable us to write our psalm. Thank you.
Amen.